First, I wanted to say, thanks for this opportunity to come here and speak to you all about the work that we do. Our organization actually started back in 2007 when Jay's Potato Chip Company here in the South Side decided to go bankrupt. The workers did have a union back then, but wasn't very helpful. More than 400 workers were laid off from different ethnicities. Workers who had 25, 30, even 40 years working for this company were laid off, lost a lot of their benefits. Some were able to recover their pension, others were not. Some got wages, others did not. So as a result of this, we were meeting with the workers, trying to get attorneys to help us with the bankruptcy court. And as you know, most judges decide to give preference to the companies, which is what happened with Jay's. And so the workers didn't get much out of the court. And so what the workers, with several discussions with the workers that we were having, there was conversations about we want to start our own organization here in South Chicago, the Southeast Side. We're tired of going to Pilsen, looking for support over there. We want something here in our community. And so as a result, January 1st of 2008, that's when our organization was officially introduced. And since then, we've been doing a lot of work on labor and immigration. What we focus predominantly is doing a lot of know your rights training, educating the community about the rights that they have, in particular the immigrant community. We begin to work with several other worker centers here in Chicago, as well as other community organizations and unions. We try to ensure that workers know their rights and that they're able to take action. We also try to work with government agencies such as the Department of Labor, the Attorney General's Office, and both the federal, also Department of Labor, state and federal Department of Labor, and try to help workers resolve their cases. Most of the time we find ourselves going to the Daily Center, trying to help out small claims court cases, and so forth, and working with other attorneys that will be willing to take the case on a pro bono basis. So as a result of this, a few years ago, we had a campaign in our community, which was where we began to be recognized in the community for the work that we do, from a local employer who did not pay minimum wage or overtime, fire workers when they asked for a raise. There was a lot of retaliation against the workers for speaking up, a lot of mistreatment, as well as workers who got injured were fired immediately. Workers who have no union, no representation. So we started meeting with the workers, decided to file a lawsuit against the employer, and while the attorneys did their legal piece, we actually focused more on the community pressure. We won the agreement, the settlement against this company after 9 months of community pressure from making announcements at our local churches. We work really close with the churches in the southeast side of Chicago as well as the south suburbs. We did a lot of community pressure, protesting, media exposure. So all this got the employer to decide he wanted to settle. So as part of the settlement, the workers wanted to receive more than just the compensation that they were going to receive for their old wages, but they pushed the employer to sign an agreement, which we're calling the Code of Conduct, which was actually introduced in New York by the Rock restaurant workers. And so we used that Code of Conduct here in Chicago, talked to the workers, made some changes to fit what the workers wanted from this campaign, got the employer to sign it. Since then, we have started getting more employers to sign on to the Code of Conduct, two that sign on as settlement, the others we're working on. And so now we began to do more of a community pressure. And we're trying to get endorsements from community organizations. We got the endorsement from the East Side Chamber of Commerce, also the South Side Chamber of Commerce. But now we're moving on with our politicians, community organizations. We got endorsements from churches. So what the Code of Conduct is, just a mutual agreement. It's more symbolic than anything. It's a mutual agreement with the employer and the community that they're going to respect the rights of their workers. They're going to follow all state and federal laws, which we all know what that includes: minimum wage, overtime, compensation, workers' comp. And we're asking them to go above and beyond, to be able to provide the workers sick days in the future, no retaliation. If a worker decides to go up to their employer and ask them for an increase in wages, that there's no retaliation, that they create some type of process where workers can put complaints without having any fear, and also to be able to meet with us as a community organization. So as a result of this, we also decided to do a survey in our community, which we will, the next few weeks or months, provide that information through a report that we're going to do, where we survey 746 community residents here in the South Side, as well as Blue Island and Calumet City, which are two suburbs that we're focusing on, to try to get a sense of what conditions are happening in the workplace, what type of abuses, and so use this information to be able to push on the employers to be able to respond more. And for those who know the southeast side of Chicago, there's the Main Street Commercial, and then you go to the east side, there's Ewing. So what we're targeting right now are these local businesses and try to get them to understand that there are laws that protect workers, and you'll be surprised how many of them do not know what minimum wage is. But at the same time, there's a lot more that do know and who still refuse to pay workers. So we're really trying to get that message out to the employers that here's a community organization who has been able to, in the last 3 years, help workers and recover wages and have also relationships with other groups to be able to pressure employers. So that's just some of the work that we're doing. We actually last year found ourselves moving a little bit out of the labor into the immigration with one of the companies, Marietta Corporation on 138th and Indiana Avenue, that was trying to fire workers because of the E-Verify program. First started with the no match from the 401k company, and then moved into E-Verify once we started pressuring. But through the community pressure and the support from everyone that we received, they stopped. So the workers were not fired. So now, thank you. And who would have thought this little CTU organization here in the southeast side of Chicago will be able to be a multi-million-dollar corporation who also has offices in London. So this is a big corporation, but through the support that we had, we were able to stop the firings, as well as with the support of Congressman Luis Gutierrez and Senator Durbin. So this is some of the work that we're doing. We're growing. We're small compared to other worker centers, but in the last 3 years since we started doing the work, we've helped workers recover over $230,000 in old wages. And this is from a new organization, but thanks to the lawsuits, but more than anything, also thanks to the workers who have been putting pressure on the employer. So what we really try to do is get the workers involved in the community. We know that us as a community organization, 1.5 staff, we can't, who's this employer going to listen to? But when we have our pastor, when we have the directors of different organizations, and when we have the community present, then they have to respond. So one of the recent things that we're working on, which I put some flyers there, this morning we were at Kennedy Fish and Chicken on 72nd and Yates, right by Congressman Jackson's office. And so we were putting pressure and brought the media out from 2 different churches, Immaculate Conception and Our Lady of Guadalupe, where our office is located. The pastors allow us to do petitions, so workers collected over 1,000 signatures in 2 weeks. And so what we decided to do, let's hand over this petition to the employer, as well as let him know that the community is now going to be moving forward on community pressure. And we were also able to file a case with the Department of Human Rights for discrimination. So what Mr. Ali Akat from Kennedy Fish and Chicken would do is his way of controlling the workers, and he owns a lot of properties, but in this one particular business, we have what were the Latino workers and the Pakistani workers. And so what he was doing with the Latino workers is giving them a lot more work, exploiting them. And we know that a lot of times when workers are afraid to speak up for whether it's their legal status or other issues, they have the tendency of staying quiet. So these employers know this and take advantage of them. So what he started doing is taking advantage of the Latino workers, giving them more work. There was one female employee, which we're filing the case on discrimination based on sex, mistreating this woman, telling her all kinds of things, treating her like inferior, and letting her know that she was less than the other men, as well as paying her $2 less than the men. And so what he would do is refer to these Latino workers, and keep in mind there's 2 different, so it wasn't Mexican workers only, there were also Ecuadorian workers, so he would refer to the workers as Mexican machines. And so this was his way of, demoralizing the workers and dividing the workers from the other group. And so that's a case that we filed with DHR, which is in process right now, but we all know how these government agencies are, so we really can't depend on them, but we are using this as a tool to put pressure on the owner. So this is a little bit about the work that we do, and I'm sure later I can talk more about the rest. But thank you.
Great. Thank you.